Welcome to your next chapter. Radiant Mind Africa is absolutely thrilled to present the Mid-Career Reinvention Circle, Cohort 2. So as we dive into this explainer today, I just want you to know that if you are watching this, it means you've answered a quiet, maybe even persistent call for something more, or perhaps something entirely different. You're officially joining a community of experienced professionals who've actively chosen to hit pause, reflect, and intentionally consider exactly what the next chapter of their life and work could become. And really, we just want to honor the courage it took for you to say yes to this journey. Right out of the gate, here is our core philosophy. Reinvention is absolutely not about doing more. It isn't about working harder or blindly tacking another line on your CV. Surprisingly, a lot of high achievers try to solve their burnout by simply taking on more work. But we believe it's actually about upgrading to better code. The beliefs, the habits, the definitions of success that were written for an earlier season of your life, well, they got you this far, which is great. But you simply can't build a new life with an old operating system. It's time for an upgrade. Now, you might be arriving here today with a whole lot of questions, and that is perfectly okay. You might already know deep down that something urgently needs to change. Or maybe things are actually going incredibly well professionally, but the success you spent the past decade or two building just doesn't feel fully aligned with the person you are becoming today. Whatever season of achievement, sacrifice, or even transition fatigue you're bringing with you, none of it disqualifies you. In fact, all of it prepares you. You are exactly where you need to be. So welcome to your next chapter with us. Let's jump right into Section 1, the invisible plateau. The crucial insight we really need to recognize up front is this. Success and alignment are not necessarily the same thing. You might find yourself at a pretty paradoxical point in your career right now. Outwardly, you've got seniority, respect, and stability. But inwardly, there's this growing gap between your daily work and your core personal values. Basically, your CV just keeps growing, but your sense of fulfillment just doesn't. You might actually be feeling some of these symptoms right now, being successful by visible measures but feeling totally restless beneath the surface. Maybe you're realizing your professional identity has become completely tied up in your roles and titles. Or you're realizing you're desiring a change but you honestly lack specific clarity on what that change should even look like. If you're experiencing this kind of transition fatigue, hear this loud and clear. Hitting a plateau is not a failure. Not at all. It's a signal. It's a critical hinge point from mere success to true significance. And by the way, reinvention here doesn't always mean up and leaving your job. It can mean redefining success, reconnecting with your purpose, rebuilding depleted areas of your life, or simply just changing how you work. Moving on to Section 2, the ARA Transition Framework. So how do we navigate this? Well, this proprietary framework builds a deliberate 8-week map for us. In weeks 1 and 2, we start with awareness. This is about understanding what is really going on before we rush into fixing things. Then, in weeks 3 and 4, we move to unification, where you get to design the future you actually want by connecting your values, strengths, and aspirations. Weeks 5 and 6 bring us to resonance, which is all about developing the courage, the boundaries, and the capacity to act. And finally, weeks 7 and 8 focus on amplification, translating those fresh insights into a sustainable plan. The absolute most crucial point here? Trust the sequence. We deliberately place awareness before vision and courage before action. Some weeks are intentionally going to ask you to slow down. All right, Section 3, the 5 life capitals. Now, your career capital, that is really just one slice of the pie. Throughout this program, we are going to track the flow of your energy across 5 interconnected accounts. First is your spiritual capital, which anchors your deeply held values and purpose. Then there's physical capital, meaning your health and everyday energy. Relational capital covers the networks and communities that walk alongside you. Intellectual capital is all about your transferable wisdom. And finally, financial capital, the resources that literally shape what is possible in your transition. You're going to audit all of these in week 1, and then we'll measure your growth in them again in week 8 to see how far you've come. Next up is Section 4, your rhythm and community. You see, true reinvention is built in rhythm, not in sudden, chaotic bursts. So here's the shape of a well-lived week in the circle. Before our session, we just ask you to invest about 10 minutes to read your workbook and do some quick reflection. During the week, you'll bring your full, undivided presence to our 90-minute live virtual session. And then after the session, we really want you to protect about 45 minutes of quiet reflection time. This is when you'll finish up your workbook and publish a short, authentic key learning reflection on LinkedIn. Trust me, the real transformation is built through these small, consistent deposits of effort outside of our live sessions. And hey, you are not doing this alone. The circle is built on a beautiful truth many of us grew up with. I am because we are. You're going to be placed in small accountability pods of 3 to 4 people for encouragement and reflection. Plus, we have cohort representatives, pod connectors, and our incredible coaching team ready to guide you. We grow as we contribute, and this structure ensures you are witnessed, heard, and supported every single step of the way. Of course, meaningful growth like this requires immense trust. And that brings us to the ground rules we call our community covenant. This includes absolute confidentiality, meaning what is shared in the circle stays in the circle, period. We all commit to psychological safety, deep respect, and total non-judgment. We practice listening to truly understand, not just waiting for our turn to speak. And we expect authentic participation, which means showing up as your real self, not just as your professional title. Embracing vulnerability, while of course maintaining your own personal boundaries, creates the exact kind of safety required for everyone's profound growth. So let's take a moment to contrast where you are starting with where you are going. We are actively moving away from the old operating system. We're leaving behind that vague sense of dissatisfaction, the feeling of being limited by your past titles, and the absolute fatigue of the invisible plateau. Instead, we are installing better code. By the time we hit week 8, you are going to have a values-aligned direction, a highly structured 90-day next chapter roadmap, and the solid habits needed for sustainable action. Finally, Section 5, Setting Your Intentions. At the end of the day, the circle provides the structure, the tools, and the community. But you, the adult learner, the experienced professional, you provide the honesty and the follow-through. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to just sit with before week 1 officially kicks off. 8 weeks from now, what do you hope to say you've achieved? Seriously, take 20 unhurried minutes with your workbook to just reflect on this. What would make these next 8 weeks deeply, personally meaningful for you? I invite you to commit fully to this journey and, more importantly, to the person you are becoming. We absolutely cannot wait to begin this incredible journey with you.